the Eradicator.
It's time to check out the latest episode of Inside Star Citizen, This Life of Mine, it is called. So let's see what this is about. Obviously, it's about mining, and this is an activity that I have grown to enjoy more and more in Star Citizen. Maybe because of the cargo refactor, maybe because of the idea that what we are seeing in our ship is really the fruit of our labor. I just like that, you know. It's just... and the idea also of being able to manage our own resources. Hey, Deplorable, how's it going? So all of that here makes me quite excited. Plus, I think that we've been teased a little bit in the last episode of Inside Star Citizen when we had some preview of Pyro where we saw some rocks, some mineable rocks that we had never seen before. So I really don't think that we have seen the last of mining, and this is what we're gonna see here in this episode of Inside Star Citizen. 14 minutes. So we got the juice here, we got the meat, we got the value-added gameplay. Perhaps I guess that we're gonna check it out right now.
Just when we think we're out, you all pull us back in. The mining profession journey has been one of the most collaborative in all of Star Citizen, with no shortage of player feedback and game systems that have been designed for flexibility and iteration. The upcoming Alpha 319 is set to bring with it a whole host of fixes and evolutions to improve the ways that players make their...
But did you notice that all of these Inside Star Citizens, they're all about 3.19 now. We're not talking about 3.18 anymore. So none of these features are going to make it into 3.18. The only extra feature that we're getting is obviously the Antares, the Scorpius Antares. But as far as new features are concerned, it's all coming from 3.19. Q2 of this year, so it should be normally by the end of June if everything goes right.
Fortunes in the future.
So, I think that we're looking here at Daymar.
We don't do anything about mining anymore, and we leave it at rest. I think it was even when we introduced the mining gadget. So
yes, that sounds like Dan Truffin.
And yeah, well, here
oh
we
no,
are.
It's not. I was wrong.
Sitting here again and explaining to you why we actually had to retouch or wanted to take mining to the next level.
Okay, so I mean, every time we hear that mining is going to go to the next level, and it sounds like it's going to go to the next level again. So, well, let's see what the next level for mining. What kind of tier are we now mining? That is not tier 0 anymore. This is like tier 3 or tier 4.
Well, here we are, and giving you something more to enjoy with mining gameplay.
I watch with you. I didn't get to catch last making dinner for your kids' dishes. Oh yes, they're off school this week. Oh, is it because of the weather? Deplorable. I heard that in some parts of America the weather is so terrible. But
so when we left mining, we thought it was already in a good state. So even introducing with the mining gadget,
but it is.
From our...
What are you guys thinking mining right now? What are you guys thinking about mining? I think it is in good state. It's enjoyable, I think. The only thing that's a problem sometimes is when you mine in space, some rocks are still not scannable, and that's annoying. I wish that some of the minables would be a little bit more lucrative sometimes, or that we could find maybe higher yields. But yeah, it's just a personal opinion here.
Perspective, a nice little...
Oh, they're having a break, I see.
Different approach on mining, so you have to...
Oh, by the way, I mean, I know that this is an RSI armor, but I've never seen the gold, not the gold version, but the yellow version. So that looks pretty sweet.
Leave your ship, attach the mining gadget to the rock, then get back into the ship, and then do your mining procedure.
Okay, now let's be honest. Those gadgets are nice when you don't know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing with lasers... I have become better at mining, I think, since I have tried it a little bit more in 3.17, at least in the 3.17 branch. And ever since I've become better at mining, I have never used a gadget since then. Just had never found any use for that. Just stay inside my ship. So they need, in my opinion, they need to give more intensives for those more incentives, I mean. They need to have better bonuses and really make life much easier when you are mining, because as of right now, it's still too much of a hassle to get out of your ship and put the mining laser and tweak it so that it's got the right calibration and then go back into your ship. You know, by the time you finish doing all of that, if you had not used your mining gadget, you would have already finished mining the rock, right? Yes, Whoopa, you finally catch a stream, right? As an IR prospector owner, you are excited for this and you haven't mined in months, so I see.
And we also thought that it will help with difficulty, so that especially new players can buy a mining gadget to bring down resistances of the rock drastically.
There you go, new players, right? That is really designed for new players. But if you're a veteran miner, yeah, imagine it's not that useful.
So they have an easier experience, mining experience. What we didn't have in mind is that we also have to facilitate expert miners.
Yes.
That still need a challenge there.
Mm.
So what we tackled is...
Oh, that is music to my ear. I am not an expert miner.
We adjusted
but I like what
all
we're...
the items, all mineable heads, all mining heads, all sub-items that you attach to the mining head, the mining gadgets. Everything now has different values.
Okay.
We cleaned it up drastically, so it is now clearer what are the positives of what mining had.
Yeah, sometimes it was a little bit confusing. That's right.
The positives of a mining gadget, and what
we
are
need
the
to give better
negatives that come
explanation.
with it. And this is more important now because we also touched the minables themselves. So all the minables that you find
yes.
now have different values in terms of their resistance, in terms of their instability.
I mean, it was already the case. For example, if you were going to mine, Taranite, or if you were going to mine Agricium or Borase, it already would not have had the same stability and the same resistance as if you were mining copper or titanium, right? Or diamonds. So it's already the case. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how different that's going to be, and especially, it's always the same, right? The high risk versus high reward. How rewarding are those minables going to be when you are going to eventually find them? Because if it's going to be more difficult now to mine something like Borase or Taranite, then of course it needs to be also more valuable, something that's going to be perhaps a little bit closer to Quantanium than what, say, for example, titanium. Sorry, closer to Quantanium compared to what something like titanium would be rewarding, right? Here, the big difference, says Fupa, is that they found a big difference in volatile when they were going to go for Quantanium over others, right? Yeah, Quantanium is definitely offering a big difference indeed, but it would be nice if there could be some of those differences with other minables as well.
So what we try to do is match certain mining heads with certain materials or resources that you find. So you will have mining heads that go better with, for example, aluminum. And
I guess no one's going to buy this one then. Some mining heads will go better with aluminum.
Plus, that might go better with iron. And this directly leads to the next thing. So we introduced finally iron. And iron is a ship-exclusive mineable for now. We also introduced some new resources like Genelite. Genelite is exclusively found in caves.
Nice! Genelite, look at that. It looks gold, it looks very shiny. So we're gonna have new materials in 3.19, yes.
And it's only mineable with FPS. And the reason why we wanted to introduce that is that
it does, right?
The data that we gather from all of you playing is no one uses FPS mining as a game mechanic outside.
Yes, of course. Why would we do FPS mining outside of jail if we can make much more money doing mining in any other way? It just doesn't make any sense. So we need to find some of those rare variables that are going to make it interesting going mining on foot in caves again, because as of right now, why would you waste your time doing so? It just doesn't earn that much.
Side of the prison. So we wanted to make it more attractive to players to use a multi-tool with a mining attachment other than just having it attached because you found it. So right now we want
By the way, do you guys think that this developer here sounds like he's talking real? Like that is some real talk here from the dev. He knows what he's talking about. He's seen the data. He's seen us play, and he knows what we are doing in game, and I like that. That is called being in touch with the community. So congratulations, sir. You know what you're talking about.
Try out the new caves, find the new mineable, and I can guarantee you that it is really profitable to bring that with you. It's not as profitable as the mining as a profession, because if it's your day-to-day job, but it's like a nice golden nugget that you can find on your exploration tool.
It does look like it. Yes, look at that.
Next time you are in the caves, better bring a mining attachment with your multi-tool.
Now I really wonder how profitable. I guess we're gonna have to try in 2019 PTU when it's going to come, right? Yeah, I also like how he's talking to Swappa. It sounds like, you know, very quiet, very knowledgeable as well. I really this developer here, I would like to see him more in Inside Star Citizen, right? Maybe it's a little bit Germanic, yeah, perhaps. Sounds more like Scandinavian, I think, based on his family name.
Definitely cleaned up the way that resources are distributed throughout Stanton, and this is because we want to make resource gathering future-proof. With the introduction of crafting that will come further down the road, with this first implementation with the hull scraping gameplay, you already got a glimpse of it. But what is important there is that we get a better control of where to find certain materials, and also...
Okay, wait. So it's not just in caves. Oh no, that's Haydenite. Oh, I was confused. I thought that we found the gold thing, but no, that's Haydenite. That's good old Haydenite here.
From our perspective, it's more interesting for players to know where they have to go to find certain material types. So what we did is we defined standard materials and quality or like rarity-based materials. Standard materials are something like copper, like iron, like something that you know from real life is used in basically every item that you find around.
Yes, so nobody is mining those in the game right now, right? When you see a rock full of copper, full of iron, in the future full of iron, full of aluminum, you run from those. You don't want to be mining. There's just no incentive, and that's because our ships are very limited right now. You know, the Prospector, it's only 32 SCU. The Mole, 96. It may sound a lot, but it's actually not that much. And we need to have a miner other than the Orion that can mine large quantities, so that then, you know, you go for a quick buck, you go outside, you find any rock that there's available, you know, in the future iron or aluminum, quartz, copper, whatever, you bring them in and you go sell them, you make a quick buck, and that's it, because you have 300, 400 SCU and it's easy to mine. The next thing is, if they're not doing that, if we're still stuck with our tiny little miners here, make those minables very easy to mine. Make them just, you know, bring the mining laser, you know, one fracturation, boom, bring in the vacuum cleaner so that it goes inside the ship, and that's it. Go back to the station, boom, and also high yields at the same time. Do all of that, and then maybe people will be mining. The problem is that, again, you know, it's all about how much time you are spending doing it. If you spend very little time, and then there's also very little time to refine that at the refinery, then you can sell all of that ore that is being refined within a very short amount of time at some of the TDDs. And then it makes sense, you know, you're not going to be waiting for a couple of days to have a full haul of titanium, diamond, and a little bit of borate. But there needs to be some incentive mining those, you know, or perhaps, because he mentioned crafting, right? Maybe once we have our own production facility, then mining those resources is going to be finally useful, because not because we are going to be selling those at the TDDs, but because we are going to be using these resources for ourselves when we are going to be crafting items, or when we are going to be creating items in our own production facility. Say, for example, we own our own quantum drive factory. Because in the future, you know, that's something that the devs have talked about. They want us to own our own production facilities, right? Or we have our own armor production facility. We create our own armor type, right? If we have some of those materials, you know, instead of buying them, we can just mine them for free, use them to craft our own pieces of armor that we can sell around the verse. And that would make sense. But as of right now, with the current GAN economy, as of that we have in 3.18 in PTU and probably still in 3.19, I don't see any point mining aluminum and all of those, you know, trash resources. We call them trash, right? They're not really trash, but you know, when you go out there mining with a prospector, it is trash. So mining those other trash resources, there's just no point right now.
And those have distinct locations now within Stanton. For example, aluminum you can only find around Crusader, where copper you can only find around Microtech, which, so as a disclaimer, this can change during our development, but just to give you an idea that we now have distinct location where you can find these defined standard materials.
That's a bit
strange.
strange.
Doesn't mean that you cannot find the standard materials elsewhere. There are chances of you finding them elsewhere, especially asteroid belts get more attractive because they have a more diverse spectrum of materials. But on the planet side, like you know from Earth, we just have very distinct locations where you can find those rare earths. And what we also introduced is that each of the standard material always have certain more rare or rarer materials associated with them. So this gives you a glimpse of where we are going, where our intention is to have star systems with exclusive materials that you need for your crafting, so you have to...
There we go. He did say it. So it is for crafting. What they're doing here, the refactor of mining that we're going to have for 3.19 is with crafting in mind. Yes. Now, Diplo says... You can fill his vulture with 20 SU in less than 30 minutes at her L4. Way easier than the time spent mining. Yeah. Now, keep in mind that hull scraping is a new feature. It may get nerfed. It may be less profitable in the future. So let's always remember that.
Travel to a certain star system to get the material that you need for whatever item you would like to create.
So it is with crafting in mind. That sounds like music to my ear.
That we updated. So one thing that we noticed is that mining is a difficult profession.
Yes, that's right.
We want to make the obstacle less threatening for new players, and that means that we improved our
that prospector over there is in bad shape.
The old mining UI was one of the most
sounds very French
UIs in the game. It was one of the most readable already, but we discovered some improvements we could add to it to make it
yes, he is definitely French.
But we had like some slight issues with you could say clutter, basically, with the center part of the screen with too many elements flashing. So
yeah, that's true.
We moved some elements together. For example, we moved the mining throttle next to...
So is this here 3.19? So there it is. Yeah, it looks a little bit wider. That little thing here, I guess it means that it's a little bit too close. That's the optimal distance. And there you're obviously a little bit too close. What else here changed? That's pretty much it here. I cannot see that much of a change so far, but let's listen to Bastien.
To the power charge of the asteroid, since those two elements are semantically related, we've added a range bar to the left with all the ranges you need to keep in mind, like scanning, blast radius, and mining range of your head. We shuffle less relevant UI elements to the bottom of the screen to clear up space on the center part and on what you are looking at. We've also changed the display of scanning to make it less disruptive to the mining experience, and we've improved a little on a bunch of things like color and element positions within each card of the screen to make it more readable.
So now it is easier for you to see what distance you have to keep from the rock.
Okay, so that's the distance right here. So there's your distance in meters, I suppose, with this particular number there. Okay.
Dangers you encounter on the rock.
There's your speed here.
Actually is set up right now, and all the parameters that you need to know if the rock that you are targeting is actually mineable. For that, we even added a little helper that basically tells you, hey, it is very doable, it's an easy mining approach, it's a challenging mining approach, or it's an impossible one.
Ah, yes, I would. That is good. Because sometimes, you know, when you go out there, especially with a prospector, and your prospector is a rental prospector, perhaps, right? You don't own a prospector, but you still want to do mining. You go rent a prospector. You don't know if the rock that you found is mineable or not, just because it's just above that little threshold. It's about 5,000 tons. If you're just above that threshold, you know, you think you can do it, and you keep on mining, and you're there for 10 minutes, and you're like, oh, I don't understand. How come I can't hit the sweet spot, right? Well, that's because it's actually not mineable, and you just don't know. So it's great that they're giving here the possibility to let us know.
Because now there will be impossible one. And this is where our last change for this update comes in, which is multi-crew mining. We thought that the size of the rocks and the power it required for multiplayer mining was sufficient, but especially with the mining gadgets, you could bring down the resistance so much that like multi-crew mining wasn't as
That's not true.
as needed anymore.
Oh, come on, no.
And that's the benefit of having a game in a live environment where you, as the community...
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. No. So first, you know, not everybody's using the gadget, the mining gadget, and then even if you have the right mining gadget, sometimes even the mining gadget is not enough. That is not true.
Create videos, create reviews, post like comments on the Spectrum that you are basically
yes,
not
we have learned the ways of
satisfied
Spectrum.
with the gameplay as you would like to be, and this is now our opportunity, and we saw the need in it to make it even more future-proof for.
There we go, right? Swoopa here disagrees. Some rocks are still not mineable with gadgets, but Diplo here also disagrees. He says that in the past, he says he couldn't break them, but if you stay them, it was possible. They used to break mole rocks with your prospector. All right, I guess that. Yeah, but that's if you have the right mining the right mining tool, right? The right mining heads. But if you have like a stock prospector, that's impossible. Deplorable. So you probably. I think that's because you changed your you changed your heads. That's why.
Systems. So we wanted to encourage players using the mole in a cooperative environment, and what we think lore-wise was that what makes sense and was an easy win for us was that because you are sharing one system, one computer on your mole.
And we are also sharing the profit of the mole, right? That's right. With a stock mole, it's hard to break some rocks too. Exactly. As a solo miner, yes, of course, because that's because the mole has bigger lasers, right? Yes, you had an upgraded here. Yes.
Have a way to synchronize your mining lasers, and by that you get the benefit while sitting in a mole to decrease the instability of the targeted rock drastically. So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same rock with, like, if you have 3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability. So we wanted to make sure that it's still solvable. If you are an expert miner, you can counter the instability there, but it's more effort that
I know, right, Swappa? That's really nice. You know, the idea that giving the a bonus if you are using a mole and all 3 lasers on the mole are synchronized on the rock, then you get a bonus. Yeah, that's very nice indeed. Oh, look at that, nice Quantinium here on Microtech.
Where with you have a high instability rock, and you have 2 friends or 3 friends, you better pick your mole over the 3 prospectors, because you will.
I think those guys are gonna die. There we go.
Mining experience picking the mole. And there's one more thing that ties in with the difficulty or increase of difficulty that we intended with this update, and that basically brings us back to the resources and the update that we did for the resources. Something we didn't have before, but we will now introduce, is that each resource composition will have an effect on the weight or on the mass of the mineable. So that means
So,
there are
okay, so what does that
materials
mean?
that are heavier
Yeah?
and therefore harder to crack. So you definitely need to bring friends to be able to crack the stone with the super dense materials.
Oh,
Comparison
are we
to,
talking about, for example, talking about maybe gold or titanium, platinum? That's not in the game. Platinum, agricium. It's probably going to be some of the most expensive ones for sure, right? No, you did not get booted. You're still there, Diplo. It must be some of the most expensive ones.
resources that are
So
less
it's,
dense
in other words,
and
mining's
more
gonna get
purest.
harder.
So you will have an easier life or easier mining approach with them. This will not make single-player mining worthless. It will make it more interesting, for sure. Because
More interesting. This word,
we also
such a
will
portmanteau
update
word.
a
It means
little bit of the
anything, right?
trading, so it is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less the less rare materials because of the redistribution of the resources. Suddenly there is a demand at the other side of the universe for aluminum and for
Okay. Okay, now that is something that that's nice to hear. So let's say, for example, you mine aluminum around Crusader, you then go to Macrotech to sell that aluminum, and it's more expensive there. Okay. Yeah, but then at the same time, it's gotta be the same when you trade aluminum, right? You buy aluminum around Crusader at a mining outpost, you go to sell it. It has to be worthy as well.
So you might wonder when this update will be available to you. And I have some good news. So you might have seen the content that we put in this video already. So it is already in a playable state for us, but not only that. Right now we are on a good track to have it inside or have it part of the next major release after our 3.18 patch.
So that's
We are very
319.
confident that it will be in 3.19.
So, what did we learn this week?
Well, that's great. That's great. 319, we're going to have some additional mining, new manables. That is much needed indeed. Slightly revamped mining economy, more difficulty. All right, well, I'm digging this, and it's definitely going to make it more interesting for players to play as a team when doing mining, and hopefully as well, hand mining is going to be worth it too when you are inside the mines and you find those gold rocks.
Well, we learned that resources are being redistributed throughout the Stanton system and include new additions to vehicle and FPS minables. That the UI continues to evolve and improve the player experience.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a big change, but any change going towards making it easier to read is always welcome.
Balancing changes to everything from heads to consumables to gadgets and to the resources themselves means that Alpha 319 will bring a thoroughly updated experience to miners when it arrives later this year. Now, as for Alpha 3.18, it's available to all players now in open PTU.
Yeah, still.
So don't miss your chance to get in there and bang on the pipes, as it were, to help us get things to a live release. For Inside Star
He's
Citizen,
been saying
I'm
that
Jared
every
Huckabee.
week.
We'll see you all here next week.
I really wonder if 3.18 will be out by the time we get our next hiatus. Anyway, guys, that is all we had to say about this episode of Inside Star Citizen, but don't go anywhere because we've got more to talk about in today's live stream, so here we go.